Play. Lights. First.
Well, you mentioned it, that serve has a little bit of a different look to it now. I like the way he's relaxed at the start. I think that relaxed feeling at the start can help you throughout the motion. Let's take a look at this start here early on. Watch the ball placement closer to where you'd see Novak's start position at than what he was previously. That ball in the middle of the strings there, that's a Novak Djokovic shout there.
There's the game plan.
Yeah.
15-13.
You have to get forward, but you have to get forward at the right times. Carlos passes and moves so well. You can't just run in and expect that he's going to miss passing shots. He passes too well, but you do have to make sure you apply pressure. Just trying to settle in here, Carlos. He'll know that this matchup's one that he's got to be ready for. So early deficit on serve. Tommy starting out well. Watch the hands here at the front, how relaxed he is. This is what I like about it.
That was the perfect returning game. Second serve, jumped on it early, surprised Alcaraz, got an opportunity because of the quality of the return to take the backhand down the line. You're going to see a little bit more of that. Umpire just telling that Alcaraz has to take his, he's got his watch on. Oh, I tell you what that is. That's you're not allowed to play with a Whoop watch here or anything that monitors your kind of vitals or anything else. So that's what was happening there. Tommy Paul, perfect 35 out of 35 service games won in the tournament through to this stage. He's also been on court less time than anybody else through to the round of 16.
Yeah, he was under an hour the other day when Rybakina had to pull the plug after 6-1, 6-1 opening 2 sets. That's a great move there. So this wasn't a planned move in transition. This was a visual recognition of how good his shot quality was. He makes his way forward to apply the pressure. If he doesn't do that, Carlos can chip the ball back in play. But Tommy understanding that transition, really good stuff.
Such an impressive start. One man that's got the perfect view of that is John Fitzgerald. I know you're courtside now, Fitzy. That was pretty impressive from Brad's man.
He looks so relaxed. He looks like he could almost go to sleep down here. He's so relaxed and hitting the ball out of the middle. I mean, he's missed one backhand, but what a start. Perfect. And that would not have happened to Carlos too often, I wouldn't think.
One of the hardest things to do against the great players is once they do drop serve, they often break back. Carlos has dropped serve 4 times and now 5, but previously had managed to break back on a couple of occasions straight away. We saw it with Djokovic last night when he went down 3-1 in that 3rd set, instantly got the break back. So that was an impressive hold from the American. Carlos Ryan quickly into a fast second serve after what had happened in the opening game where Tommy had jumped on a slow second.
Yeah, Tommy did a really good job getting on that second serve. He actually hit it in transition, got it near the baseline, and just putting that in Carlos's mind. Hey, look, you're going to have to go for a little bit more on the second serve. I'm going to punish you if you're not ready for it.
Let's. First.
Sometimes you can see Carlos's focus go in and out, but this start here, he'll be right to business early on. This is going to capture his attention the way that Tommy's come out the gates. He knows that he can't have those ups and downs that he can recover from as easily in a matchup like this.
Missed it, but that is going to be one of the attractive qualities of this match, is just the full court press that both of these players like to do.
Yeah, it's a really good move, but I think that volley miss, it kind of shows what both these guys have the ability to do. You can't just comfortably put a volley into the open court because there's always that fear in the back of your mind that these are two of the best movers, and especially closing space in the court when they're out of position.
Tommy reading the serve very nicely. It's been a bright start for the man from America. He's grabbed an early break, 2-1. And he's run 36 out of 36 service games won in the tournament, which is hugely impressive. Obviously, one of the reasons he's done it is that serve out wide on the deuce has been absolutely deadly. I mean, his serve in general has been great, as you can see. Very few red balls, but he has lost just 1 point when he has served out wide on that deuce side.
That's remarkable stuff there. You know, there's a couple different patterns like that players like to play into, but Tommy particularly does such a good job there. Let's take a look at this knee bend here on the serve. I love the way that he gets to that top position. He's very explosive, very twitchy. He's got good arch, and he gets up to this. Look at how much elevation he's getting. He's nearly a foot off the ground when he's hitting that serve, and he's able to finish with his chest up, which is so important. Make sure you hold that posture. It makes for a very smooth, and effective, repeatable serve.
Started to feel his abductor around Roland Garros. That was ended up sort of taking him out of play after the US Open. Sports hernia in that part of the body, never ideal for somebody that moves as well, so I had to go home and get a little rehab, and that's been a good time for him to get fresher. The other issue he had was not really a failing with the body. Lost his bag in Madrid. He took a day off after losing to Jack Draper. Didn't go back to the courts. Went back sort of 36 hours later, and erroneously somebody had cleared his locker out. No bag, no shoes, most importantly, and they inside had his orthotics that had been broken in. And anyone that's used orthotics knows that you kind of want to gently break them in over a period of time, not kind of necessarily full bore, but he had no choice. Got back on the practice court, and after a day started to feel a lot of discomfort in his foot. Through the middle, he's going to do a bit of that today. Not too much pace on the backhand and forced Tommy to try and come up with it. Still played in Rome, did a great job actually. Made the quarters there, lost to Sinner, played an unbelievable first set against Yannick. The Italian turned it around. Had a couple of weeks off, had an MRI in Paris. Showed that there was an issue with the long tendon that runs down the foot, which was causing the pain, and he had a lot of pain in his 5-set win over Fucsovics. Had another 5-setter, unfortunately, against Hashanov, but won it before losing to the man that he's playing today in the quarters. That is sweet. You do not want to give that avenue up for Alcaraz to explore with the backhand.
No, and just Tommy's first serve percentage dropping a little bit in this game, giving Carlos an early deficit at love 15 with a double fault. And then, as we said a minute ago, Carlos, he understands that he doesn't need to have any of these mental lapses in this match. So he is straight away in transition. I love the body weight transfer through that backhand. First serve still abandoning him.
I tell you, that opening break against Carlos has kick-started some inner fire, though. He's got a very determined look on his face. He's all business right now.
I'm really interested to see what Tommy goes with against Carlos on these moments. He can drop a 220 hammer if he decides to, but he toggles his speeds as well as anyone out there with the off-pace kicker out wide.
That's a great move there. That 15-40 point was a big opportunity for Carlos because Tommy has the ability, as you said, to understand how to serve, how to set up that first ball. Really good base here. I love the way he's in transition. That body weight and that freedom with the swing. It's a great setup. There's that pattern. That's that pattern you're talking about with the wide serve.
One of the things that Brad's talked about, Franco Herrera, credit to him, who's back in the States at the moment and heads up the fitness team in Delray where they work. He said that Tommy's footwork is the best that he's ever seen it.
That's a great hold there from Tommy, fighting down 15-40. There's the coaching corner there. You've got Hugo Armando on the left, Brad Stein. He's been with them for a long time. They've done a great job, their tandem. And as you said, Franco back home, he's done an excellent job. He works with Tommy amongst many other players. He's done an excellent job.
Well, Pablo Oso's over here from that particular sort of nucleus of players. Of course, Ethan Quinn, he was out there last night. Brian Garber and Brad supporting him on, came up short against Menchik in a couple of tiebreaker sets in sets 2 and 3. Just finishing off that story that I had with Tommy. So he's got the problem with the foot. He goes to Eastbourne on the grass. He has another MRI. Results are the same. Still a problem with the long tendon. Plays Wimby, and in the middle of the match with Offner actually snaps the tendon. Does finish the match, loses it in 4 to the Austrian. The doctor he saw back in the States said, that's a bit of self-care, Tommy. He said, because if you'd have come in it with it as it was, I would have snipped it anyway. So he had to be in a boot for 10 days, injections to reduce the swelling. And then he started again in Cincy, but it was a very tough few months for the American. Still produced some incredible results despite it.
Well, he's really done a good job of growing and maturing through his career. Early on, early stages, he was a little bit scattered with this focus, and he's since become one of those guys who you just expect to bring it with whatever he's got on any given day.
Alcaraz once again closes the gap that the American has created. 3-2, Tommy Paul.
For Tommy, it almost reminds me a little bit of how Novak was early on in his career with a different issue with some of the physical stuff, and he was able to focus in on how to make those improvements. And obviously over the course of his career, he became one of the most fit, strong guys. And early on, you know, I used to do a lot of training with Andy Roddick, and he felt like from a physical standpoint that Novak was someone that he could get to tap out and even potentially retire a lot of times early on. I know you coached against him a lot early on, and as he progressed, he got that level of physical dominance over his opposition. Tommy has been the same when it comes to his mental focus. Early on in his career, he was one of those guys that you just felt like if you just stayed with him, he would go away. And now he's truly one of the best.
Time.
Temperatures have dropped, but the intensity in terms of the matches has increased here. Second Sunday of this year's Australian Open. For the first time at a Grand Slam in the Open era, no unseeded player has reached the men's singles round of 16. Incredible stat.
Well, Fitzy, I can see you courtside there. You've got that umbrella, looking a little Osaka-like with that umbrella right now. What's the temperature like on the court?
It's very pleasant, really. I mean, the sun on the playing surface would make it a fair bit warmer than where I am, that's for sure. But nothing outlandish at all, Ryan. I think pleasant enough. You know, I feel like Tommy's a better player than a year or certainly 2 years ago. He looks more competent, more relaxed. He looks like he believes in his own ability more. And gee, he's timing the ball well. I mean, he gets overpowered occasionally, as everyone does with Carlos, because when he really rips it, Tommy's been catching a few a bit late. But when he's got enough time, out of the middle.
And of course, that's been one thing that they're very aware of and have been trying to work on, getting a little bit more pace off the ground for Tommy. He had a switch back in the end of 22 from the Wilson Blade 98 that he had played the majority of his life with to the racket that he's currently playing, the Yonex V-Core 98. And, well, the result was instant, wasn't it, in terms of the run through to the semis here?
It was.
Interestingly, he plays with a blend of gut and poly, but he would love to play with all poly, but it actually hurts his arm, which is why he puts the gut in. He actually he personally thinks he would be a better player if he had all poly in there.
I tried that once as well. I was a half and half guy, and when I tried out the all poly, similar effect. I never had arm issues in my life, but just the stiffness of that string and the weight that it felt on contact, it started to give a little jolt in my arm and in my elbow that I'd never felt before.
Oh. So that means the trajectory of Tommy's racket is a little flatter because of it, right? I mean, he would get more spin with all poly, Ryan.
Yeah, generally speaking, the guys that play half and half, they like to try and get the ball through the court a bit more, but with that half and half, you'll be able to get a little bit more length and extension of the all poly. It allows for a bit more grip on the ball, a little bit more RPMs.
Easier to volley with the half-half too.
Oh. Fitzy, you strike me as a guy who played with all gut. Am I right there?
Yeah, you know my vintage well, Ryan. Yes.
Look at this beautiful disguise on the drop shot there. It's all about holding that until the last minute. Even Tommy can't recognize it.
Game, Alcaraz.
Well, it was a good job that Paul ambushed Alcaraz early on in this set, because the Spaniard has looked very good on serve subsequent to that. 4-3.
Well, it's a packed house in there early on in the day, but all these fans appreciating a little bit of temperature drop from yesterday. It's a beautiful day to watch some tennis. You see about half of the crowd is in the shade, about half of the crowd is exposed to the sun, but it doesn't appear to be brutally hot. Looks like a nice day in the sun as well.
Yeah, this is what the brochures are like when you want to come to Australia, when you're in the UK. This is what it looks like.
Well, you come here every year for the month of January for us outside of Australia, and it's
Fitzy's
just always
usually on the cover of our brochures over in the UK. That's, he's the headline act. It's been a clean start for Tommy. New balls in play. That should potentially aid him. But there will be some high desire from the other end to recover the break that he dropped in his opening service game for Alcaraz.
I see 100% of first serve points won so far. So not that he needed the help with the new balls, but it's going to get even more difficult. Fitzy, we saw on that side previously, Tommy, he had to adjust his toss a little bit. Is there a sun element right there at the side that Tommy's into right now?
There always is. From this angle, I can't tell exactly, but it wouldn't surprise me. This is the time of day. Sometimes you've got to throw the ball further right or left than you're comfortable with.
And this is where his first serve percentage dropped in the previous game that put him in that 15-40 hole.
So good. His court positioning there was everything.
Yeah, it starts with the depth on return. It allows him to gain ground in the court. Tommy's not able to get that in the middle. You can see just off the end of the racket there, and then stepping in on the front foot. And he's able to go in either direction. We saw this a moment ago. He went down the line for the winner, and he's got that in both directions.
Can't believe he didn't go cross court there. Bit of indecision from Alcaraz contributes to the missed shot on the 15th shot.
Yeah, he's ropeable with himself for attempting that down the line. He's not blaming anyone else, though, taking responsibility, as you should. But he had an opening, didn't he?
Some good numbers here for Tommy off the ground. Just quickly, you can see there he has found a little bit more pace, as we were saying. He's kind of in the mid-range for the elite players out on the men's tour. That's a nice uptick. He's going to need all of that.
And Petch, that's an amazing number there for you guys to catch on. Great from our stats team. I talked to Brad Stein this morning, and he said he's played Carlos over those last 4 meetings, and he's had some success throughout the matches. And throughout those matches, when his ball speed, particularly on his backhand, has dropped, he's been playing a lot of defense, way too much defense, and that was a point of emphasis for them today. Beautifully constructed there. They noticed that throughout the matches when Tommy was getting leads and having success that he was dictating play off the ground. And one thing they noticed was his ball speed on his backhand was dropping between 6 and 7 miles per hour. So around, I think that's what, around 11, 12 Ks if I'm doing my math correctly.
Yes.
I wonder what the difficulty factor of that shot was, because that was an extraordinary backhand.
Quite high. Over the high part of the net as well.
An on-break point. Incredible shot.
These are the kind of service games these two have consistently in general.
Well, not to overstate the tension out there, but this has the seriousness of what you would see in a semifinal stage or even in a final stage, just the way that these guys are both kind of coming at each other with that focus and discipline early on.
Alcaraz back into the mix. Not a lot of first serves. One of the things about gut that I'm always, and I also think this is going to be a very interesting thing in tennis, because the balls are so significantly different in their sort of opening 2 games once they've been changed. And I'm wondering whether players at times are going to start changing rackets to kind of counter the new ball and then maybe drop the tension a bit once they get a bit heavier. But with gut, with new balls, it flies. And he struggled with his first serve there.
Well, down that end, looking at the sun, that's been both occasions where he struggled a lot with the first serve percentage. He's down below 50% now in the match. He's only lost the 1 point on serve, has Tommy, when he's made the first serve, but the percentage is dropping, just providing a few too many chances for Carlos, who gets that break back.
Well, that was extravagant, the way he hit the slice, not the fact that he was in the slice, but the flourish on the follow through there, a little unnecessary.
Yeah, that's the creativity where he does so much special stuff. Sometimes just a little bit less of that can actually work to his advantage.
Phenomenal movement to stay in the rally. So balanced at end of range there, Alcaraz, that there was no real opportunity for Tommy to capitalize on what had been a great point.
.167 on that forehand in the middle of the rally. That's a lot of heat.
Understated as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, such easy power. It makes it look so smooth.
These are the moments where there's a little battle in amongst the bigger war here. He has gone wide, and Tommy has been sitting on that serve. Would have been his quickest serve of the day. He was looking for a fairly cheap point there, Alcaraz. What a scandalous backhand that was. I mean, he has absolutely flung that back at Alcaraz, and it has skipped somehow over the net. Look at this.
It's amazing stuff. Take a look at the movement, first of all, how quickly he gets over there to cover it. I mean, that stays so low over the net. Good response there. Pecha does bring me back to that moment earlier in the game you were talking about, with that a little bit too much on the slice, right? And that's where Carlos can get in trouble sometimes, because some of those points come back to bite you later on, especially in these matches where Tommy has the ability to do something spectacular out of the corner like that. So just a little bit less of that. You got to keep a little bit more on pace.
Advantage, Alcaraz.
Yeah, that is a brilliant way to serve your way out of trouble, and that's why he spent hours and hours back in the lab in Spain remodeling that serve. 5-4. Fitzy, I know it's warm, but it's a fun watch, isn't it?
Well, it's better than fun. It's this is a high-price ticket for me, and I'm sitting here
Come on, Fitzy, when was the last time you bought a ticket here?
Well, I'm embarrassed that I haven't brought one to this. Genuinely so. Look, the skill of these guys is out of this world for me, and you know, Carlos is at the top of the tree. His power would worry me if I'm Brad Stein and his camp, because when he puts his mind to it, if he gets the first serious hit, as good as Tommy is, it's quicker. It's quicker through the air and it's heavier off the court. But having said that, you know, Tommy's got a game that it comes out of the middle quite often, and he's got the ability. Interesting matchup for me.
Ryan was talking about the drop-off in pace at times for Tommy in these matches against the likes of Alcaraz and Sinner. He started the match so brightly, Tommy, in terms of firepower off the ground. It has dropped away, as you can see, and it tends to be, as you say, Ryan, around that backhand side. He has lost 17 Ks on that particular wing at the moment. The forehand doing a nice job of remaining stable. Can he find that little bit of extra velocity here? He's going to need it, probably. It was interesting. I've become good friends with Brad over the last few years, from obviously working here, but also watching a lot of kind of tennis with him. And we chatted after Tommy lost to Yannick in Rome. And Tommy's backhand, after what was an outstanding opening set, lost about 13 Ks in that match early on in the second, and Yannick just took advantage of it. And also, Yannick has the ability to lift. I mean, he can get up into the mid 130s off both wings at times when he decides to sort of let it fly, and that's when it's tough for Tommy to stay with these guys. Not many out there like Brad and Brian Garber and those guys that are brilliant at both kind of facets of being a tour coach, which is the technical side of it, but also the strategic side of it. Knowing what to say, and more importantly, knowing what not to say.
That second part might be just as important, I think, Pitch.
That's beautifully done there from Carlos. And yeah, Fitzy, just to kind of piggyback off that,
14,
timing about delivering the message is everything. Obviously, Petch, you've coached a lot of great players. Fitzy, I know you've coached amazing players, been Davis Cup captain yourself, and just reading the moment when you feel that they're going to be receptive to the information. Sometimes you can have the right message, but just depending on timing, it might not land home.
Nice stabilizing hold for Tommy.
I'm really starting to notice a trend here of how comfortably he's holding down this end compared to the other side.
Well, shout out to Brad and Darren Kay, who I lent on last year in my little cameo coaching role with Emma. They were very supportive of looking at videos that I sent them, so they're very generous with their time, and two of the best minds out there on the tour. Two of the best players on the tour, locked at 5 apiece. No daylight between them right now.
Patch, have to give you a little shout out there. I was watching close by, and you really helped get Emma going there last year. That was great stuff. You guys had a really good turn in the season. She started playing some really good tennis, a couple really big matches against Arena Sabalenka, so that was well noticed by everybody on tour.
Like he plays that drop shot, trying to find a good way of describing it. He plays it like you pick up your grandma's finest china.
Yeah, he takes
It's so delicate.
the relaxation of the hands, and I love the last second move to it. So this drop shot was honestly pretty average, but it's the disguise on it that makes it difficult to get to, and Tommy just not doing quite enough with that lob.
It's the benefit, of course, of not the biggest grip change, so the deception is as high as it can be. It's just awesome. And this is what's so beautiful about tennis. You can start moving your pieces early on, like on the chessboard, but you can counter. And look at Alcaraz after the opening game where Tommy gave him an early crush and rush on the second serve on the deuce side. He's gone bigger out wide there, kept Tommy quiet. Not just bigger, 178. Oh, yeah. You'll have to wait to run to the changeover, Carlos.
I love the interaction between great players too. There's an unwritten understanding about how good the point is, what the other one's doing. There was a little interaction there. Tommy he had a wry smile as well. It's a sign of mutual respect too for me.
And again, look at that. Another second serve coming in at above 175, tucking up Tommy into the body.
6-5.
Alcaraz the first to 6.
Well, he's made the adjustment on the second serve, has Alcaraz. He's now up to above 50% at 63% on his second serve, points won. Tommy was doing really well early on behind the second serve return points. And now he's started to turn that stat, as you said, making the adjustment. I want to see what adjustments Tommy's going to make coming here out of the break.
What would you like to see?
Well, I want to see him get that first serve percentage up. You know, for him, it comes down to the fact that he's had to play too many second serves down the other side, and Carlos is so good on second serve return. So these first 2 points here, I'm looking to see even go big target. It can go body, it can have a hard slider. We've seen him have a lot of success with that slide serve wide in the deuce court. I want to see him try and build out a couple first serves.
Time.
Tommy's been a little further than Carlos in previous Australian Opens. Semi-final back in 23. Carlos looking for his third consecutive quarter-final. The only major he has yet to win.
Love it.
Has struggled, as Ryan's been saying, to find first serves from that particular end, but he found one there.
Well, that was 6 for 6 there for Tommy Paul coming into the net, and Carlos is continuing to build up his stats now, 7 from 9 coming forward. Both guys having a lot of success in transition.
$15.
Showtime. Showtime at the most crucial time, and that is why so many fans have gravitated to this sport, because of Alcaraz. This is just a rocket.
Yeah, so far in history, no one's hit that better. I don't think that he flattened that out incredibly, and the racket head speed is faster than probably anybody. That you don't see that too often.
It looked a little like Delpo, didn't it?
It did.
That's a great response there from Tommy. Obviously, it can be a little bit intimidating when someone of his stature plays a shot like that. It can carry into momentum. So just professional response there from TP.
Brad doing his job on the side there. He knows his player needs all the support he can get.
So good.
He's done unbelievably well to send Alcaraz the wrong way.
And with as well as he moves and as how effective he is at passing shots, to be perfect in transition now, 7 from 7 for Tommy Paul. It's really remarkable, his timing and how much he's getting forward, but also the shot selection on when he's coming forward.
It was a bit of a scare. It was a little bit of a skirmish.
Game's all.
But it's a scramble to
Tiebreak.
safety and an opening set breaker between these two.
Well, you can see over the last 52 weeks since the Australian Open 2025, Carlos is nearly 70% in tiebreakers. Tommy a little bit more, 50-50. Just shows you his ability to lock in and raise his level at the most critical moments. Carlos has that extra gear.
Alcaraz.
Oh, he's got a little fortunate. Both players kind of stopped mid-rally there, thinking that ball from Paul was going to go wide. Somehow stuck to the line. Couple of chances and both points for Alcaraz. Paul comes away with both. And when they first tussled in Montreal back in 2022, opening couple of sets were breakers. Tommy saved a match point in the second set. This one equally as close.
These are two of the best with these cat and mouse points. Such good movement. Tommy had the placement there, but just couldn't quite get it over the outstretched arms. And what an athlete he is. I think he's underrated as his ups and spring. Carlos, he can get up there with the best of them.
Oh, it's unlucky. What a beautiful performance from both, exhibiting perfect 78-foot tennis there, right to each other's baseline.
Oh, it's beautiful stuff. And Fitz, you're sitting right there courtside. Carlos with some intensity. What are you sensing out of him in his camp right now?
Well, I think, you know, the loss of the serve early threw him on the back foot a bit, and he's been super determined. So he's, since that 2-love deficit, he's obviously won more games, but there's nothing between these two right now. It's just, you suspect the great player that Alcaraz is, he's going to come up with something extra special here, but it's only a suspicion.
He's got him. He is. Oh, it's gone long. Didn't need to be that good. Tommy had totally closed the net down.
Well, I thought that first passing shot actually was going to be good enough. Tommy did really well just to put that volley deep in the corner. And yeah, Fitzy, just to kind of finish off that point, I'm really paying attention right now to the back and forth between Alcaraz and his camp. As we talked about earlier on, Juan Carlos Ferrero is not there anymore. And we saw that statistic leading into the tiebreaker where he wins nearly 70% of tiebreakers over the last year. So I want to see if in these crunch time moments, if he can maintain that level of success in these critical stages without the presence.
One of Paul's favourite players when he was growing up watching tennis was Tim Henman. It's one of the reasons that he loves to get to the net and hit these volleys. Yeah, there's something happening above us. I'm not sure if it's a spectator that's fallen ill. It does sound as though that is the case.
It's way up. It's way up towards the back wall. Actually, it's. Yeah, I would say it's a medical issue. It's tough to see. They're going to stop, I think, for a moment.
Yeah, we just heard the chair saying it is medical.
Gee, it's way up in the shade. So it's certainly no one's exposed to the warmth up there, but.
There is a medical going on up there. So let's give them a little.
This looks like it might take a little while.
Well, it's hot. You've got to stay hydrated out here. Even in the shaded bits, it's still very humid and very hot out.
Yeah, Cicek just telling the players just to idle the engines at a very difficult moment for both players to idle the engines.
Carlos just manually pulled the umbrella up over his head, just trying to stay cool himself.
Yeah. They're just playing a sport, though, aren't they? It's important to get this right up there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, we all know that, but it is a difficult time for the players in a tennis sense. Gee, it looks like it might take a little while here too.
And also, I mean, from just a purely tennis perspective, as we wait, Carlos will be feeling as though there were a couple of those points that Tommy managed to hold on to on serve that should have been his. So even though he is still.
We've got. I think the medics have just arrived. I think, but it's a long way up there, though.
A good chance of taking this opening set. 3 apiece, perhaps should have been 4-2 or maybe even possibly 5-1. As we see Jerry Armstrong on the right of your picture there. Jerry heading into a little bit of a tapered retirement coming soon. He has been a stalwart of the tour for decades now. Has Jerry?
Such a good guy, Jerry.
Yeah.
Got a chance to talk to him. I talked to him for a long time at the ATP finals this year, and he was talking a little bit about that, all of his years, looking back on his legacy. Of course, Craig Tiley down there with him. Obviously, first and foremost, you hope the spectator is okay, nothing serious going on. As you said, just from a strictly tennis standpoint, it's a tricky moment. I don't know about you, Petch, but I felt like Carlos has been knocking on the door ever since being down 2-0 early on and getting that break back. He had some chances there at 15-40 to break back at 3-1 and continued to chip away.
And that makes this set, you feel, even more important for Tommy to win, because he did get the quick start, he did have the lead, And yet at the backhand, the thing that both players are going to remember is that Carlos was probably slightly at this stage, certainly in this first 6 points of this tiebreaker, marginally the better player.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, I just think that the overwhelming feeling is that if Carlos were to lose this opening set, it's still very much in the balance. And if Tommy loses this opening set, the likelihood that Carlos runs away and builds out an even more substantial lead is higher, just given the way that he's played once he gets momentum rolling. So I would agree with you. I think that this is even more critical for Tommy than it is for Carlos. The step up here right out the gate, and it's going to be tough with an extended break and coming out and having your serve.
Let's take a little look at the 360 view of these players. Beautiful stretch. Look at the balance. Look, it covers so much ground in one step. That's the most important thing. Tennis, you hear it so many times. Small steps, small steps. But if you can move with big steps and efficiently and predictably find where the ball's going to be, you are going to cover ground a lot swifter. And that is something that Alcaraz and Tommy are extremely good at. Roofs are open today. Obviously, yesterday was a difficult day for everybody in terms of the heat stress index, and the high mercury will be around that level, and those decisions on Tuesday here in Melbourne once again.
Well, the way that they navigated yesterday as well from an organizational standpoint was just beautifully executed there. You know, having them start a little bit earlier, getting so many matches on and going, and the way that they were able to get so many matches done. This tournament staff is no stranger to how to handle any adversity. They do it with the best of the best.
See, they're discussing when it's going to be safe to restart, and a little tricky to really kind of figure out who this is going to help, because obviously Tommy has had a long delay between his last point on serve, and he's going to be the one that's stepping up trying to.
Well, the first point is going to be massive. Tommy has the serve here, and if he's able to get this first point, now all of a sudden there's immense pressure on Carlos. But it's going to be tough coming out of a break like this to step up to the line and have to serve immediately. But this is the side that Tommy's coming back to that he's served a lot more efficiently on. His first serve percentage is only just above 50% at 51% for the match. But most of those mistakes have been on the other side of the court where Tommy was just leaving. So he's coming to the side where he's had more success.
Interesting that neither player have gone to their camp to have a conversation.
Yeah, I'm not sure the rules here, if there's not an official break, if they're able to go over there. I don't know if you're allowed at this stage. Like you said, it is interesting that neither one have gone over. Maybe neither guy feeling like they need.
I mean, it feels like if there is an official rule, it's kind of a crazy rule, because, you know, we've got on-court coaching and we've got an official break. It's like the rain coming down and you can go over there and have a conversation with your team. If they've both been held away from their respective corners, it's interesting. Or both players may be just so mentally in the right spot that they feel as though they don't want extra information that's potentially going to confuse how they feel at this particular stage.
Well, Fitzy said it a moment ago, and I think we were all in agreement, knowing when to say something and when not to say something. You know, at this stage with both guys seemingly going all right, responding well. I mean, how well did Tommy respond there in that 5-6 game when Carlos hit that 177 Ks forehand, I believe it was, to put himself up 15-30, and Tommy just stepped up, delivered an ace out wide, and got right back on it.
This is the new motion. Look how loose that wrist is. Racket doesn't point, the head of the racket doesn't point quite as vertically as Novak's does, but you can see very little rotation on the ball, which is always crucial for a good serve. You don't want to see that tennis ball spinning if you don't have to. But a shot that has been through a number of iterations for Alcaraz. He's debuting here at the Australian Open, and so far so good, as he's managed to get through to the 4th round without dropping serve. Sorry, without dropping a set. Straight arm, Ryan, on the forehand. Where do you sit on that? Slightly bent or straight arm?
It's my belief that the longer you can keep the ball on the strings, that the more control you're going to have. So from contact point on both guys, that when you make contact and you hold that follow through and finish, I believe that it gives you a little bit more control. And then if you're able to do it with balance, I think that that explosiveness that both these guys really have, especially Carlos on the forehand wing, if you can explode through the shot, but with balance and control, then that's when you're able to see him hit these shots that are above 160, 170 Ks, and you go, well, how does he control that? The upper body stays very, very balanced, even when he's throwing that arm and throwing that body weight through it. As we now creep over that 10-minute mark since the last point, and this starts to get into territory where there is a optional warm-up that they can do. I believe it's once it's over 15 minutes off court since last point, they can hit for 3 minutes, I think is the number.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the players decide to do, what obviously the umpire and organisers decide to do at this stage, as once again we take you high and above Melbourne Park. Vast crowds once again settling in for another busy day. And every time you come down south for the month of January, there is always something new in these grounds that they have thought of, that you don't know where they conjure up a new idea to keep the fans entertained. And it is certainly entertainment here, and tennis in equal measure.
So Petch, I want to ask you here, because we're getting close to that 15-minute mark. If I am correct in thinking that there's a 3-minute,
I think let's try and see if we can listen in here, Ryan. Maybe that's exactly what Jerry's about to talk to them about.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're about to restart here, Ryan.
yeah, it looks like, I believe that once they determine that the person in the crowd is stable and there's no more medical emergency going on, they're just cooling them off, it's far enough out
I think
behind
Tommy's
the court.
asking if he can have a warm-up here. I think he's asking if he can hit a few serves.
Gentlemen, everything's fine. We're going to continue in a couple of minutes just for everything to settle in.
Yeah, this is a warm-up coming, guys. Right decision, I think, for the players, that they get the opportunity here rather than going in stone cold after dealing with that. It's also a little bit of emotion for them to deal with. When somebody's not well in the crowd, they'll be a little bit concerned.
Yeah, and Petch, I think the person concerned is on their feet, I believe, and they're exiting slowly. Yeah.
That's good news. Yeah, Carlos also as keen as Tommy to have a few little warm-up serves here. Almost feels as though the slate's wiped clean, doesn't it? You've got this kind of rhythm to a tennis match where you've been serving wide, you've been kicking, off-pace, body, and it's kind of all coming together, and it's kind of a living thing in the middle of a match. And then suddenly you have a 15-minute sort of stop, and it's almost like it's a hard reset, factory default setting of the match, and it's almost like anything's back on the table.
Yeah, Petch, how much are you paying attention to the other side of the net, which serves they're practicing right now? If I see Tommy go hit 6 wide serves, I'm like, is he trying to get that honed in, or is this deception?
You can outthink yourself.
Yeah, you can go, well, he just hit 6 wide serves, and then he gets up there and he hits one down the tee. So the chess.
Rio.
Critical moment in this opening set.
Yeah, goes back to that trusted play that we saw early on,
4-3.
where he'd only lost 1 point going into this match with that wide serve. 14-minute delay in total.
He's done a good job there, Tommy, of just steering that ball into the space. Didn't try and overhit it.
Yeah, now the pressure's on Carlos. Now I think this plays into Tommy's hands.
That was classy and very clean.
He made this look easy. This was not easy. If you look at the level of height of the ball when he had to strike this forehand, it was well below the net.
Exactly right, Ryan. For most of us, our heart would have been in our mouth there. He made that look so easy. It was a fine margin.
Does Tommy take a risk here? Get himself inside the baseline, look for a slower second serve. Such a big moment. Genius, absolute genius.
5-4. 4.
Carlos having a look at where the ball was. It barely bounced. You will not see a better slice. What a response from Alcaraz. So mature for his age in terms of what to do at the right time.
Opens the court up nicely there. Now Tommy, does he go back to that wide serve that's been so effective throughout the tournament?
Nothing
6-5.
wrong with the game plan. Just missed the
Alcaraz.
execution. A set that's had a bit of everything. Could be Alcaraz's. Talk about rising to the occasion, and sometimes the absence of alternatives actually can clear your mind in those big moments, because he was getting beaten in the cross-court exchange before. The longer extended version saw an opportunity to end the point, and boy didn't he.
Well, it was a beautiful strike here, but Petch, right here in front of us, how professional was that response here from Tommy when he stepped back after losing both those points on serve? He clears his mind and absolutely lays into this backhand. Let's take a look here. The body weight transferring, beautiful angle there, getting a 3D surround shot of that. That was so well done.
Averaging 112. That was anything but average. 141 case on that backhand from the American.
Let's pass up. Let's pass up.
very interesting because these are the moments, Ryan, you're so correct in saying that Alcaraz had Juan Carlos Ferrero there, literally telling him where to serve at times. I am pretty sure Samuel Lopez told him to change up his direction of his first serve there.
Have a look at this. You don't often see this in between shots in a rally. He had enough time here. Tries to cool off the hand and snaps that away. Nice little reaction there. Just looking at the bench. Shows his relaxation in these crunch critical times.
That is a brutal way to end the set. Absolute delight for Alcaraz. Tommy brought so much to the proceedings. But it is Alcaraz who takes it on the breaker. Haven't seen that play till now. It's a nice little change up.
Go ball.
Nice stabilising game for Paul. Needed to get an early toe hold. It looked as though the intensity of the last set perhaps just left Alcaraz for a second. He'll probably mill around at the changeover for a bit longer than normal just to get his focus back before his first serve of the second set.
Well, Fitzy, I think you nailed it there early on in the first set. Just getting broken in that first game, it kind of ignited a level of intensity and seriousness with Carlos that carried its way throughout the entire set.
Look, he's focused, no doubt. They both are. I think the big thing here for Tommy is that we know now it's a long way back. 3 sets. He's been out here for over an hour and 15, 16 now. And he's got to start again. So he's a set behind, but he cannot drop off. So he's had a high level, super high level, has to maintain it if he's going to stay with the Spaniard. Because sometimes these great players, you know, and Carlos is one of them, they're good front runners as well as, well, they're great everywhere and they're coming from behind, but when they're front running, they're so dangerous.
Saw just a little quick chat between Tommy and Brad before that last point, and then Tommy hit that return and came on in. I wonder if he was kind of nudging him to keep moving forward whenever the opportunity presents itself.
Is there anything you would like to see? There's always at times when you've lost a set, there's potential for knee-jerk reaction to a big strategic change. But sometimes actually not changing anything in these moments is as important.
Yeah, I think that he played a great set. You know, serving there, and he had the opportunity to serve at 5-4, just couldn't quite close it out. But that 90 seconds there, I don't think that that determines any sort of we need to make a big strategic change. It was just a couple points. At the very end of the set that he couldn't quite execute as well as Carlos. But what I will say is at the very top of the game, these guys who make their way through these matches with regularity, when they do lose a tough opening set like that, they understand the importance of early stages of the next set, particularly for the guy who lost the set, to really give themselves a big lift in intensity. And I'll be watching to see if Tommy can do so here. For me, Patch, what it does is two things. Number one, it shows the opposition that even though you lost that set, that you're still there and that you still believe, and that that wasn't just the end-all be-all for the match, that I'm still here to be present and coming at you for the rest of this match. And it also shakes off and puts to bed any of those negative feelings that you might have had toward the closing stages of the previous set.
Game, Alcaraz.
In terms of time in the office today, that felt like a pretty good and needed service game for Alcaraz, not just to take any kind of early detour in this second set away from the intended destination. He would like a clean kill today if he can get it. He does have that win against Carlos when he was world number one. The only win over a world number one for Paul in Canada in 23. Has a lot of good wins over a lot of great players out on the tour. 13 top 10 wins in total for Paul. The one thing he has not yet done is beat a top 10er at a Grand Slam. 0-8.
It's a big miss there. Tommy, early stages here, set number 2. Just a couple of mistakes as he was trying to settle back in, and that's an opening there that Carlos won't be happy to give Tommy the opportunity to level. You can see there, that's exactly what I meant. He knows that was an opportunity missed.
Pets, you know, they don't beat the top players as much at the Grand Slams because it's best of 5. And you know that. I understand we all do. It's exponentially harder just for the viewer out there to beat these guys over 5 sets than it is over 3. You have to maintain for a lot longer. You can't shock them and you know, a quick 2-setter. That's why the great players win these majors so often. Because the nature of tennis is that the best player normally will win over 5. And then you've got to do that 7 times.
Carlos has already done that 6 times in his career. been in first place in New York, in London, and in Paris, yet to do so here in Melbourne. This could be his year,
40.
and this is most definitely his moment to take a stranglehold on this second set.
And he did say if he wins here, he's going to get a tattoo of a kangaroo, correct? I think he said that somewhere,
He
right?
did.
Well, he's got away with one there. Didn't do near enough with that approach shot.
Yes.
And left it right there in the wheelhouse for Carlos, who now will definitely be feeling like he's missed a chance here, as he missed that second serve return, and this is not a passing shot that he misses very often.
The quality that Tommy brings to the net, though, I think also forces Carlos to have to try and hit the pass a little bit harder, which possibly contributed to the miss. People that are less expert at the net than Tommy, I think he feels as though he can just carve it around them. Oh. Don't miss that, Tommy. I just gave you a big write-up on your volleys.
Yeah, well, that's the pressure that the Alcaraz movement. You can't just play a normal volley there. He knew he got away with one on the previous point, so he tried to just make that a little bit more fine.
He looked really casual to me too, Ryan. He had the racket face a fair way away from his eyes there, and just thought it was a bit casual in a big moment.
World. You're the best in the world.
Please.
And that was the most ferocious forehand he has hit today. Sledgehammer from Alcaraz.
Well, he was knocking on the door that whole game.
He just knocked the door down.
He kicked it down. I mean, that's a way to enter with authority. Have a look at this. He's moving around. The court coverage is good. He's just plotting and probing and waiting for his chance, and boom, 160 Ks on the dot.
And the problem is, for anyone trying to defend that, is that the swing is produced at the start exactly the same way. There is no lead-in that you know that he's about to just pull the pin out and detonate the forehand. So Tommy's kind of waiting for the cross-court ball.
Because he's hit that same ball cross-court 3 or 4 times already. So, you know, you see him winding up, and you've got that in the back of your mind, and you're thinking you've got to respect it. And he goes, I can go either way with it.
Everyone taking a moment to savor what they've just seen. There's always something from an Alcaraz match that just allows you to kind of gawp in awe at his skill level and his ability. And that was it right there. Devastating blow for the American. But a shot that would have beaten everyone.
Love 15.
New balls here, and that visibly carried further through the air.
One of the problems for Tommy out here is that
15.
Carlos doesn't mind taking his backhand down the line, but he doesn't take it necessarily to finish the point, and we've seen it with the slice on the previous rally in the third game of this set. But there already, that's a rally ball. Against a lot of players, he'd be a bit worried about what he was going to receive back off the forehand side. He's not concerned against Paul often enough. And when Paul pulls it back to the forehand, then Alcaraz goes to work with his own forehand. And that's why you're seeing the errors here from the American. He is trying to inject pace, but it's just a lot harder for him to do and keep control of the ball.
He is, exactly, Mark. And the new balls have affected him here slightly too, I think. They're carrying further.
It didn't actually look that good a drop shot, and yet somehow he's come away with a point, and hopefully Paul hasn't hurt himself in the process as he tried to slide for it.
40-50.
Just didn't have a lot of forward momentum once it bounced, did it? That's what sort of saved him, because that was a straight diagonal run that you would expect Paul to have made.
Game, Alcaraz.
He's not going to hit an extensive catalogue of aces. That's his first for the match.
3 games to 1.
But he pulls away from Paul in this second set, 3-1. Looking for his 88th Grand Slam win, Alcaraz. He won 87 out of his first 100. Oh, and that's why that is unplayable.
Well, I think this is why he's so devastating once he gets that set lead, as you said. And look at the forehand winners count, up to 12 now. I mean, he's hitting that forehand anywhere and everywhere at the moment. When he starts to roll, that confidence builds. You know, as you said, he's got the most firepower in the world. I think the general consensus is amongst the locker room and most in the tennis world is that when he's switched on and engaged, that his level, when he starts to really turn that up a notch, it can be absolutely unplayable. There's people who, you know, even Jannik Sinner sometimes when they're playing can only just watch at times with what he's doing.
The Lou Hode of the modern era.
Is that right?
30-15.
You have to give me some Lou Hode stories there, Fitzy.
There's plenty of those about how good he was.
Yep.
It's good stuff. And, you know, for Tommy in this situation, as I said, Tommy knows that Carlos can produce this unplayable level, but he can also be prone to getting a little creative and having a mental lapse. So it's really important to keep this at just one break and not get too deflated. At any moment, you know, you might have a slight opening if Carlos gets a little creative and plays a couple too many drop shots.
Game, ball.
Good pressure applied in that particular game. Alcaraz, I'm not sure if he thought it was a let or serve was long, but the game will go on no longer. Paul wraps up his second game of this second set.
Well, let's take a look here at that Alcaraz forehand. He's been so dominant with it, and we saw in that break point, Tommy was covering the cross court, and this is why on Tommy's forehand placement, he's going pretty much even variation, about 40–46%. There's no real variation, but look at this. Big discrepancy here with Alcaraz going after the Tommy Paul forehand side. He builds this up. He sets it up so well. We saw that blistering forehand down the line with the court open. And the reason being is because he's put it in Tommy's mind that he's peppering that forehand side. Then the most crucial moment, Tommy's expecting it over there. He fires it the other direction. Court's wide open, set up beautifully by Carlos Alcaraz. Great job from our team with noticing the patterns.
Tommy getting a last bit of instruction at the back there from Brad. Alcaraz primed and ready to push on. Oh, no, he's got it. It is extraordinary.
Both guys throwing so much variation. You saw excellent use of the slice here. Tommy backs him up, tries to exploit the drop shot, but Carlos's movement gets up there, and then at the very end, the redropper. Always a great play when someone drop shots you if that drop shot is open in return. How about this reaction?
Taylor.
Both guys doing really well in transition to the net. Just getting Carlos moving a little bit, trying to test those legs.
Mindset has been excellent from Paul. He's been looking to try and change things up, bring the match back a little bit towards him in terms of how hard he's hitting the ball. That was excellent.
Well, he's been very aggressive with that backhand return, particularly on the second serve return. Gonna have to do a little bit more of that. He continues to find different areas to try and be aggressive.
Just awesome. The footwork to get in position there was absolutely magnificent.
30.
Didn't think it was a bad counter from Paul at all.
No, it wasn't a bad slice at all. Carlos's footwork was perfect getting around it.
That is a statement. That is an absolute statement, those last 2 points.
Alcaraz leads 4 games to 2.
And not to overstate what's been happening over the last hour and nearly 40 minutes now, but watching this right here, this is the first time throughout this week that I've been watching Carlos, and it looks like he's rounding into that form where you see him winning majors. I think the first few matches he was working his way in the draw, kind of working through a couple things, and
Must be
right
nice.
now, yeah, can you imagine?
Just ticking over to the round of 16. But I don't disagree. He did just enough.
Well, if you consider that he's getting better every match, and that's what he normally does, you wouldn't want to play him in a final, would you?
That's when they bring their best, but that was some of his best, wasn't it? What a collection of forehands there. That previous point was that kind of gear 7.
Yeah.
Tommy's one of those players out there that has gear 6, and they're exceptional and they're very unique, but so few have gear 7.
Yeah, and Carlos, he has that ability to get there, especially in those critical moments, which is why you see his tiebreak record is incredible. He has those abilities later in sets to turn it up a gear. For Tommy, it's so important to just keep asking the question. As you said a minute ago, that 30-all game, he hit a nice slice, and yeah, Carlos got around. He hit it unbelievably well, but you've got to just stay there. You've got to keep asking the question, because the moment you drop, it can get away from you in a hurry.
(40-15).
Obviously, a lot can be said about the way Carlos has played, but from a mental standpoint, Tommy's done a really good job of just managing some of those extraordinary shots that Carlos pulls off.
Yep, all the plaudits Paul should be having as well from not just his coaching bench, but also everybody else, because he is tailgating Alcaraz in this second set effectively so far. Just got to hope there's a little bit of a crack. There doesn't look to be one appearing at the moment from Alcaraz, but that is what Tommy can do. That's what is going to sustain him at the moment. Just hope.
Well, he's got to stay aggressive on second serve return. We saw a beautiful second serve return strike at 30-15 in the last game, but for Carlos, his second serve points won. It's been continuously ticking up ever since he started adding a bit of speed on it, a little bit of variation going in the body. So I want to see if Tommy can continue to take it to Carlos on that second serve return.
Time.
Smooth, serene progress made in the second set from the world #1 to this stage. Can Paul create a little bit of turbulence?
15.
No one has been more devastatingly effective with the +1 drop shot than Alcaraz.
Well, he hit so many winners off of it, but then also the very next ball, as you said, he knows how to create, whether it's the lob, the angle passing shot. That might look like a bad miss, but for Tommy, he's trying so hard to get around the backhand overhead to play his normal front-on overhead, which is obviously a lot more powerful than a backhand overhead.
Oh, yeah. Catapults that one back.
But again, on that first point with the second serve point that Carlos won, as we take a look here at this return, I love the short backswing. Allows you to redirect pace, which he does so well on this occasion. Getting through it nicely. Good contact point out in front. Going back to that first point, the second serve again. Varying speed and location, tying Tommy up in the body. Using really good speed and spin variation for Carlos on the second serve.
I mean, that thing must have caught a thermal Fitzy to go over the net. I don't know how he's done that.
It's incredible feel, especially with those strings. Halfway through the flight pattern there, I thought it may not make it, but it was perfect.
See how little grip change is needed for Alcaraz. I'll tell you the other thing about his drop shots, he used to play a gazillion of them every single match as a kind of 10-year-old, 12. And Juan Carlos eventually had to try and ban him a little bit from playing it. But it's one thing to practice the drop shot back in the lab, you know, in isolation. But what that has done for him, as you just said, Ryan, is he played so many. The consequence of it was that when they did return it, he was able to create something to counter whatever they picked up.
And he learned how to keep the hands relaxed, which is so important because he's so comfortable playing it on big occasions. I mean, we saw him play one in the late stages of the first set tiebreaker and executed it beautifully. And he does these sorts of things. And I mean, to me, I don't know how you guys were, but I was thinking that playing a drop shot, you know, in a critical stage like that was a little bit of a bailout. But he doesn't use it as a bailout. He uses it as a weapon.
Well, the percentages are in his favor when he plays it.
Yeah.
And this is a game of percentages. And the other thing, clearly, that has a big impact on his opponents is that they then have to cover the drop shot potentially, so they stay closer to the baseline than they would like. So then when he just unloads on a ground stroke, they're even more rushed than they would be normally.
Both of you guys have coached some incredible players, so I want to ask you both this. How much do you think the court sense and instincts on the court can be taught, and how much of that is just in your DNA?
You can teach it. You can teach it, but you've also got to let them play. You've got to let them have the freedom to lose. I think it's one of the great kind of mistakes that people think that as a junior you need a win. You need to play. Don't worry so much about winning, because if you can then come out of the back end of the juniors with a skill set like Carlos's, you're going to win on the main tour, which is the only thing that matters.
And he had to fail in order to get there.
Correct. Paul tidies things up nicely on his serve. But the harder task just around the corner for the American. Has to break Alcaraz again.
It was a good move here from Tommy, recognizing that Carlos had gone way back on the return. Just understanding that's a good chance sometimes. So when guys go way back on the second serve return, in order to get depth on the ball, you have to also get net clearance, height above the net. And if you can catch them at the right time and you catch that ball as they're attempting to hit it high over the net, that can make it for a bit more comfortable volley from a higher position. It's all about timing with that move.
Time.
Alcaraz serving for a 2-sets-to-love lead. And those are the little moments that sometimes you miss in amongst all the creativity of and his shot-making skills, that he is still thinking so clearly. He did not give Tommy a chance, as we saw at the start of the match, to crush and rush. Tommy was looking to creep in there to take that second serve on. Alcaraz's serve kept the American at bay. The IQ is as good as the skill set.
Yeah, so that could have been a drop shot coming. We used to see Roger do that a little bit, where he'd actually slice the forehand, infer that he might go for a drop shot. The opponent can take a step forward, and then all of a sudden he follows through with a slice. So plenty of options, and you need serious skill, don't you? I mean, we can't say it enough.
That's been the area where Paul has been most productive up at net. 13 out of 16 points won now.
30, 50.
You can see some athleticism here from Tommy Paul. I love that first volley as well, keeping it low, keeping it below the level of the net. And look at this stretch. How do you play a shot from that position to allow yourself back in the point? It's remarkable. Such a good return there. He's using that inside-in forehand return on the ad court really well.
Full matchup, dude. Keep doing that. That backhand down the line is fucking awesome. Look for him. Sydney's all day, man.
The message wasn't wrong. Alcaraz with some deep breathing techniques down this end, calming himself down. Talk about delivering at the right moment with your fastest serve. 2-12. The reaction tells you how vital that was to him. As the Spaniard captures the second, fell into it.
Fitzy, I wouldn't take that, man. You gotta, you gotta stand up.
Well, when you were born in 1896, I mean, you have to just take it easy on yourself. No, Petch, I accept Petch's little snide remarks. I mean, he's a man that's got a lot of humour about him. He wants to go on stand-up on the circuit out here next year. He's not far wrong though, Ryan. That's the problem.
Well, I, for one, Fitzy, I love being involved and just soaking in all your wisdom and experience. So I'm going to go that route with it. Plenty of wisdom and experience there, Fitzy.
Yeah, let's tap into it, Fitzy. I feel like Tommy. Yeah.
Straight through the ball. Straight through the ball.
Brad sounds like he wants more space, which is going to give him a bit more leverage, which is going to generate more pace. And Fitzy, I feel like that is his only opportunity here, and he's got to try and kind of contain the number of unforced errors that will come with him taking bigger risk.
Yeah, and that's been caught between a rock and a hard place. What he's doing now, as good as it's been, and it has been, it's not winning. So if he drops off at all here, it's going to be over quickly. He's got to maintain at least that level, and yes, I think you've just got to take a bit more risk, but with that risk, sometimes there'll be reward and sometimes there'll be there'll be errors. He's playing the best in the world. Pretty tough to stay with him.
Yep.
Well, his first serve percentage again down that end is starting to drop. He's 1 for 4 now to start this set.
And Petch, I maintain that for a lower ranked player, it is harder exponentially to win against a great player over 5 sets. It is much harder than winning against them over 3.
Well, Fitzy, one of the rare occasions I disagree with you here, so I'm going to have to give my my counter to that.
I'm happy to hear, mate.
I don't believe that Tommy can start to swing bigger and out of his comfort zone and win this match. I think that Carlos plays too many balls back in the court in order to do so. I think that this is more about chess and counteracting some of the adjustments that Carlos has made throughout this match. So that's what I want to see Tommy do. Rather than trying to swing a little bit harder than he can control, I think that he's got to reestablish that he can hang in there with his shot tolerance. I think that if he starts swinging a little bit too big, that plays into the hands of Carlos. I think that if you can move him around and establish that quality again, making sure that he knows that you're still there, I think that that's when it can get a bit frustrating for Carlos. And then the other adjustment, as I said, I would like to see him take a couple steps back on return. I know that he wants to step in on the backhand return, but right now Carlos isn't giving it to him. He's not letting him from that forward position.
If he goes back, though, doesn't that open up the +1 drop shot even more for Alcaraz?
It does, but as long as his quality of ball, if he gets some depth on it, that's still a tough ball to drop shot. If he gets a little bit depth on it, I personally would not just keep stepping in right now just because of the number of success that Carlos is having through the match. I mean, Carlos is nearly 70% points won behind his second serve for the match and was at 82% in the second set. It's a big enough sample size for me that I would start to make an adjustment.
Brilliant riposte.
Gee, that was quick, by the way. He's a good athlete, isn't he, Tommy?
He was very quick up to that one.
Love 15.
Beautiful stuff here. Petch, did you see him give a different look there, stepping back 2 steps before he jumped in before that second serve return?
Yeah, he did look as though he was going to be deeper, but he actually ended up in pretty much the same place.
So he gave him a different look until the toss went up. And that actually baited Carlos.
Did you hear that, Fitzy?
I missed that pitch.
No, just the net. I think. Yeah.
I didn't hear it.
Tommy's not convinced. He was thinking it was a let. Let's see if he does it again. Tommy, he stood back a couple steps, and then he waits till the toss goes up to make that move forward. So similarly done there, even though he lost the point. So what he's doing right now is he's trying to show Carlos a different look to see if he can adjust where he's aiming with that second serve target. Actually worked on the first occasion where he got that ball in the backhand zone where he likes it. On that occasion, Carlos recognized what he was doing and went back to the body.
The hard thing for Tommy is not a big spinner of the ball. And when you go further back, you know, and I know this for a fact, Andy Murray, didn't love the footwork pattern from going further back, but he's also got a very flat backhand.
Yeah.
To get enough depth on it from way back is incredibly difficult.
If the ball's not rotating with that spin.
Yeah.
Game Alcaraz. New balls, please.
There's a lot going on out here. It's not over yet.
One game.
It's a big and difficult obstacle to get past is Carlos Alcaraz in these majors. But Tommy trying to throw a little bit of something different at him there. Yeah, he's been spectacularly good. There's no question about that. As I said, 87 match wins in his first 100 matches at the majors. Only Bjorn Borg doing better than that. The most wins in his first 100 career matches did Alcaraz than anybody else. 75. Roddick was second best at 73. Most wins in his first 152 matches. 117. Johnny Mack at 113. And he was the fastest to reach 275 match wins as well, Alcaraz. He may have a few lulls in matches, but he generally comes away with a win. Every millimeter of the court hit. Talk about taking your opponent coast to coast.
15 over.
Well, he's just asking him the question again and again, sideline to sideline, moving him. I mean, this is like doing a fitness drill. Go singles line to singles line and back again.
How about the technique on the volley to finish that off? He's versatile.
Yep, and that
15,
is
13.
a double fault that you could put in a different category to the ones that we have here, because that is earned rather than given. Quality of the returning from Alcaraz in point as well is just putting so much pressure on Paul. Sometimes just struggles when he wants to
15,
generate pace,
14.
Tommy, of squaring up the racket face, the strings to the ball. And there's been a number of times, even in the last game, he got away with a rally where he didn't time the ball quite as cleanly. And you can see there, once he goes to force it, just occasionally doesn't flush it out of the middle. Deep trouble for the American.
Thirty, 14.
Simple and efficient way to save the first of the 2 break points. That's a big reprieve.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought he was going to line up that forehand down the line again. It looked like he had a little space there, but trying to go back behind Tommy. That felt like a potential match point. Just took his eye off the ball.
Advantage.
Yeah, and we've got to
Alcaraz.
remember that he didn't play an awful lot of tennis after Wimbledon last year,
Yeah.
and I think as much as it was a nice reset for him to be fresh for the second half of his career, there's things that have changed in terms of no track work now, trying to keep the pressure off the joints. This is a big step up.
It is, and he played really well for the first set, and I mean really 2 sets. He hasn't played badly at all. Obviously a couple moments he'd want back, but you know, Tommy had a really interesting press conference quote a couple years ago here when he played the semifinals against Novak, and it was one of the most true things I'd ever heard, but he said it in a different way than I'd heard a lot of players play. They asked him if he played badly in his match against Novak. That's a good response there. And he said, well, yeah, but he made me play bad. And that was his exact quote, which I thought was well articulated for what it's like playing against these guys like Carlos and Novak that move so well, because you know, you might be in a great rhythm and winning and having a lot of confidence, but then that level of pressure that they put on you, it's what draws out mistakes from you. And I thought that he had a really good understanding of how that happened.
Well, who knows? Maybe in a couple of hours when we're looking back and we're deep in a 5th set, that missed forehand from Alcaraz will be the moment we'll be talking about. Paul hangs on for the time being. No doubting the American's character in terms of trying to hang around and make himself difficult to dislodge from the draw. Once again, a great exhibition of Alcaraz's ability to at least put string on the ball. Couldn't get the ball back in the court. But again, it is where Tommy continues to be really productive up at net. 14 out of 17.
Time.
Every match has interesting moments. This may well be a particularly interesting one here. Maybe Paul once again. Long chat with his coach, trying to figure out some solutions to the problems that he's facing out here. Maybe just capitalize on a little bit of disappointment here for Alcaraz, who probably should have broken in the previous game. But there is no respite at the moment for Paul.
15.
Fitzy, if you were in the Paul camp, what adjustments would you be telling him down there?
Well, I think, you know, as good as he is from the back, this guy's so heavy down here. I mean, when you see it up close, it's just vicious how Alcaraz hits his forehand.
Is there anything that you think he can do?
Well, I'm not sure if he can win this match. I mean, I think Carlos would have to drop off a notch, but you can't approach it like that. Not if you're the coach. You just got to try to keep adjusting. From what I could hear, I couldn't hear Brad as clearly as you guys, I think, but it seemed like he was trying to get a bit more power at certain stages. I think if you can get depth, you have to try and get depth, because if it's short, the point's going to be over. So at least you can keep Carlos at bay if you keep the ball deep. But his ball is not as heavy as Carlos's, so he's at a bit of a disadvantage before he starts the point.
It's always tough to run that kind of opinion up the flagpole, though, Fitzy. You're 100% right, though. There's no question that Tommy needs a bit of help from the other end of the court.
Well, he certainly, you know, has played a pretty high level, Tommy. I think the first set, I thought he was outstanding. But to maintain it for 3 or 4 sets is another question against this power. And Carlos has been dialed in from that 2-love deficit. He's been dialed in the whole way here today. He's gone to a bit more of a level. You talked about him getting better each match, and from what I've seen, he certainly has. So yes, he probably needs a bit of help there, Tommy, from him, because rankings don't lie sometimes, do they?
You know, honestly, everyone was a bit worried when Roger left with his style of tennis, the way that he played, and wondering if we'd ever get a tribute act. We didn't get a tribute act. We got an original reinvention of Federer's classic style in the shape of Alcaraz. He is somebody that plays all-court tennis, and it's as good as anything that we've witnessed in the past.
I agree with that. He is like a new version of Roger to me. There's probably, I think Roger still holds up on the grace side, but Carlos has, he's got more explosiveness. He's incredibly explosive from the ground.
Fitzy, Roger definitely holds up because he had the disadvantage of a one-hander, and you don't want that in the modern game.
Well, no, but he used it awfully well. And yeah, well, exactly. I mean, the two-hander, you know, if I was teaching a young kid now, I'd suggest a two-hander because it's got more positives and maybe a few less negatives, I think.
You didn't see my two-hander. There was a few negatives in that one.
Well, the difference these days, isn't it, that the two-handers have got a good slice. It's much easier to return a 210k serve with a two-hander. And obviously the movement, which is definitely patented by Novak with the open stance backhand where you can just slam the leg down, has allowed two-handers to have as much reach as a one-hander used to.
And I believe that it also helps when you have a high backhand, the two-hander. And of course, you're slower and a little bit higher bouncing typically now.
I think defensively the players are better now. Like Novak is leading the pack there.
So that return right there is case in point. One-handed backhands, a lot of times they have to chip that high one, and Tommy giving a little smile there at the Alcaraz. I mean, that.
Ryan, you know that Carlos has hit a good. You know he's hit a good shot when he looks at his camp and just gives a wry smile.
Just take that over at 208.
This is a phenomenal smash. got from A to B so fast.
208 on an overhead there. That wasn't, I mean, that's a joke. Have you ever seen an overhead hit that big?
No.
I don't think so.
That is a swift hold to serve, and you just never know if he just keeps ahead of Alcaraz in this third set. Little scoreboard pressure at the back end of it. Who knows? Paul, 3-2.
There's a little sign of annoyance there from Carlos after that turn game. But I got to circle back to that overhead. I've never seen a shot played faster outside of a serve than that shot was just hit. Can you remember one of any shot, any kind, any spot on the court?
No, not from, and also from where he was, because he had to flatten it out.
Yeah.
There was no slice on that at all.
Well, you think about the overheads that are right on top of the net, you'd actually hit that down and outside the court, so it wouldn't have the same sort of speed on it as it hits the court and slows down. So I think that that's the fastest shot that I've ever seen outside of a serve.
One of the nice things around here, you just saw it there in terms of the merchandise you can pick up here. You can pick up a different t-shirt that's got every single day of the 15 days of the Australian Open. Collector's items, as was that overhead. Tommy does know how to cross this terrain that he's trying to do from 2 sets to love down. Arguably, it's not against Alcaraz on a hard court.
Well, you're looking at some of the things that he can potentially do to try and make his way back in this match. We saw Carlos a little frustrated, and Tommy's going to keep trying to plot and chip away at some things. He's going to have to do what Brad Stein was talking about, particularly on the ball speed off the back of the court. He's got to look to try and find a way to make some disruption happen on the Carlos ground game. And Brad talked a lot about particularly the backhand wing for Tommy and some of those things they focus on. Now let's take a look here in set number 3. You can see a visible uptick off the backhand wing for Tommy Paul as he's trying to hang in there in these baseline rallies. Definitely a concerted effort there.
It's the first time in this match I've seen Tommy with his version of a little poor body language, like a bit negative. It's almost like he's a bit resigned, I feel, in that last couple of points. He can't believe the power that's coming at him. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it appears like.
It's good striking there. Little nod of approval, recognizing he played a good point. Carlos matched him strike for strike. I do think it's playing into his advantage that he's serving first in this set. So that way, if he's holding serve, he actually has the lead in the score, even though it's not a real lead without a break.
He expected to make that.
Well, he did, but you know, it's hard to make a normal shot when the ball's coming at you like a hand grenade. And normally, yes, he'd make that, but he wouldn't have been rushed quite as much as he was there. It's a tough gig.
Ooh, so that's where he gets a little ambitious, right? That drop shot off of that one.
40-30.
He couldn't quite capitalise on. A miss-hit forehand gave him a second chance to potentially stay in that game.
Games on.
So Fitzy, with the body language you're recognizing there, do you think that that puts Tommy in kind of a spot here where it could be susceptible to be broken?
Well, yeah, look, I think he's susceptible every game because this barrage is coming every game at him. He's doing well to hang on here, I think, but I just felt then at the beginning of that game he lost the first 2 points and he was shaking his head like he hadn't been before. And it's having a cumulative effect, I think, this power. But, you know, Tommy Paul would beat a lot of players today. I'm just not sure he can win this one.
Love it.
I reckon he's going to have a good year, Ryan. I hope he does. He's a fantastic guy for the game, Tommy Paul. And I'd love to see him get a real run, a deep run in one of these majors. His opportunities are running out today, though.
Great second. And good recognition that he's been struggling to protect his second serve in this second set. Just 3 of 10 prior to that particular point. Needed to do something different.
He's got a lot of game, hasn't he?
He's got a lot of options. I mean, Brad's always talked about it. He said he wants him to play in the same way that he would imagine Picasso playing tennis. You know, not pattern, you know, just being creative, improvising at moments, a bit like that. That was instinctive.
30-50.
And there, a little more determined look as he drops the ace. 7th one of the match, first of the set.
Still doing really well behind the first serve in the set, though. 12 from 13. First serve points won, despite only the 1 ace. So he's setting himself up in an offensive position. Good example there, using a little bit of deception, hitting a 159 K's first serve, but that was actually with the kick serve toss, setting it up as if he was going to hit that kick serve wide. Love the aggressiveness there.
Let's. Forty, 30.
But that was unfortunate. I don't know whether Tommy caught that, but somebody said send it back as the ball had jumped up in the back into a spectator's hands.
Yeah, sometimes it's tough to recognize when the toss on the court has gone up. But it can be disruptive if you hear something, it kind of startles you in the middle of your motion. That's a heck of a response there.
advantage, fold.
Well, it feels like a routine shot for these top players, doesn't it? But it isn't when the pressure's at its most maximum, and it was there. A loose return.
Good body language too, Pets, there.
Yep. And he suddenly got the finishing line in this third set coming into view. 4-3.
Time.
He's doing really well with the first serve points. Both guys are, but particularly Tommy when he's landing that first serve, and that's what's really helping him despite the level that Carlos is playing. Heavily depend on that serve.
Yeah, the +1's so good from both players behind the serve. Only dropped 2 aces in this third set combined.
Still pouring it on with the forehand.
18th winner off that side. And that's kind of the problem for Tommy when he does go back. I mean, Alcaraz thought that he was going to maybe run in so that second serve was quick, but if he doesn't get good enough depth on that return, he's getting split on the sidelines immediately with Alcaraz's spin rate off either, to be honest, backhand or forehand.
Yeah, and as you said, it's just not Tommy's natural position, although he is trying to make an adjustment.
Game, Alcaraz. Full game zone.
Vamos a poner, ¿eh? Vamos a poner. Venga, ahí, apriétate por la derecha a la que puedas. A la que puedas, a la derecha. Cada va a dudar, ¿eh? Da lo mismo que las metas. Porque él se la juega para hacerte a ti pensar lo contrario. Pero no está seguro con la derecha. Vamos.
How's your Spanish, Pat?
Vamos a por ahí.
Can you pick that up at all?
It's pretty average, like my English. I mean, this all really revolves around Tommy making first serves here. If he can put in enough first serves, he can get himself to 5-4. That's been the unbreakable code in this third set.
Third ceiling. Fourth ceiling.
And making first serves he has. That really gives him a little bit of momentum as he heads into the 10th game of this third set for Paul. That was absolutely world class on every level. 5-4.
Well, so much can be said about how well Carlos has played throughout this match, but I think that Tommy's done a good job of just continuing to stay there. When Carlos plays the level that he did in set number 2 and the way he finished set number 1, it's so easy to go away. And as Fitzy was saying, that sort of moment of, do you get that resignation in your body language to respond the way he has? Really good just to make this a tight contest. And look, now he's 1 game away from potentially making this a match. Of course, it's on return. Going to be difficult to break the Alcaraz serve, but nonetheless, he stayed there.
Time.
Just as we expected it would be. It's been a thoroughly enjoyable 2.5 hours between these two. Some nice exotic, intricate rallies. Alcaraz has obviously got the upper hand, but there is no room for error now for the world #1 in the third set. And there's the differential between the two in lots of different ways, but perhaps more importantly, after the net cord, Tommy's flat backhand from that position of court, when he loses a bit of length to work with, has to kind of guide it rather than Alcaraz, who can rip it with the spin rate. And there's the forehand.
Really helps when he's creating power and generating his own, which he does have to do off of those slices. He's able to get the ball rotating and turning over. Gives it plenty of margin.
Just never tire of it. These two mirroring each other throughout the course of this third set. Some wonderful tennis. At times more extravagant
5
from this man,
games of
but equally exciting.
Well, it's so deflating. I mean, it's such a hard run to get there. Tommy's done it about 20 times in this match already. And Carlos does such a good job of following it in, even when he doesn't hit the outright winner. It's just such a simple ball to the open court.
love 15.
This is where he's so good at digging in and playing some of his best tennis. He did it in the opening set.
Maybe just a little too keen to try and find the backhander pull there. Did everything right in that rally, the American, but Alcaraz comes away with a point.
13.
Went back. Tommy decided not to serve and volley against the deeper position.
15,
And Alcaraz, who has
14.
consistently looked for a few more forehand returns on second serves at this year's Australian Open, gets exactly what he wanted there and now, which are a couple of break points.
Lights. So,
Wow.
yeah, I've heard it. The whole thing is that I can't see the ball. I hear it. So,
Yeah, my reaction is that there was a fair
for
bit
me,
of clearance
for
there
me
on
it
that
went
one.
like this.
Well, both players
high.
looked up at her simultaneously,
Yeah.
which is usually a pretty big indicator.
And you can't have a video review for net courts, which I think you should. Carlos going back. What does Tommy do?
Game Alcaraz.
Unfortunately for Paul, he cannot find the forehand to keep Alcaraz at bay, who breaks at the most opportune moment and will serve for a place in the quarterfinals once again here in Australia.
balls, right? 3 balls.
Potentially straight sets, but it's been a great atmosphere. Everyone always engaged when the great entertainer takes center stage, as Alcaraz has.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Players are ready. Thank you.
Promising start for the American.
Love it.
Well, he hasn't had a break point since that opening set.
Let's see, 15.
Starting to make a habit of making it through the quarters without dropping sets at majors. Did it at the US Open.
40, 15.
Alcaraz advances to the last 8 at the Australian Open for a 3rd consecutive year. Superb performance.